Hi and welcome to the workshop. Today we're going to be looking at these cheap Chinese hole punches. If you're into leather work, you've obviously looked at these. If you want to buy good quality ones, they can cost you a lot of money. But these cheap Chinese ones are perfectly good if they're sharpened correctly. When you receive them, they wouldn't cut butter hot. So this little video, we're going to look at how to sharpen these things and get them up to a good cutting standard. So let's do that now. So let's take a closer look at these. You see, this is quite a nice pack. It comes in a little wallet, a 12-piece set from 3mm to 19mm. But like I say, they won't cut until they're sharpened. But let's show that first of all. Let's get a piece of scrap leather. And let's just try and punch something. Let's take, this is a 9mm punch, so let's see how it does. It's one sharp tap, and as you can see, there's no penetration, and it's barely made an impression in the leather. So first thing to do is to give it a good sharpen, but also bear in mind, these cheap punches, when you first get them, they're fairly poorly machined. The groove that's milled out often has sharp edges, so I suggest you go around with a file and just blunt these down, otherwise you could hurt yourself. So a punch is basically a cylinder of metal with a hole drilled through the centre of a specified diameter. This is, like I say, this is a 9mm punch, so the hole will be 9mm. There's a clearance area where the offcuts are punched out. So let's look at this in detail and we'll see how to sharpen it. If you look very carefully, you can see there's a very shallow milled area around the very tip of the punch, but it's been very poorly done. So we're going to redo that, regrind that, so it gives a nice razor edge around the inner cutting surface. So I'll show you how I do it. Okay, so this is my setup for sharpening the punches. What we basically have is a Dremel multi-tool with a sharpening stone in its jaws. We have a flat surface and a little guide bar to put the punch against to get it's approximately 35 degrees. Get this little chamfer on the end of the punch. So we're going to slide that against the rest, introduce it to the wheel as it spins, and just gently rotate the tool to grind a new edge on there. So let's do that. Let's start the Dremel at a fairly slow speed. And as we can see, we now have a nicely ground edge on that punch. It doesn't have to be accurate or exactly 35 degrees, it just needs to bring the edge to a razor sharp edge. So the final thing to do with this is just to give it a very gentle deburr inside the hole. Now you can use some scrunched up emery paper, or if you've got a small enough file, that just takes out any little burrs that may have been created during the grinding process. So let's now take this out and we'll try it again on some leather. Okay, so that's the punch sharpened and ready for its test. So again, let's take some scrap leather and give it a whack. See, already you can see it's penetrated the leather properly. You can see on the back it's cut right through. So removing that, we get a nice clean hole. So there you go, Chinese punches. They're not brilliant, but rather than paying £30–40 for a professional punch, if you're on a budget, these will do great as long as you sharpen them properly. So, not a difficult procedure, worth the effort, saves a lot of money.